Hello there and welcome to my Arty Corner here on YouTube. Me being Angela Porter, and amongst other things I love to create art. I'm an artist, but then we all are artists because that's part of being human, that creative part of our being, because we're all creative. The trick is finding out what ways creativity suits you, and sometimes it may not be where you think. But I'd just like to say thank you, and thank you to everybody who's subscribed to my channel. I appreciate you all so much. If you haven't yet subscribed and you like what you see, please do so. It's completely free, it doesn't cost you anything. And if you want to know when I upload a video, click the bell button, the notifications one, and you'll get a notification. And thumbs up are always very welcome, please. So if you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up. Again, it doesn't cost you a thing. But in return, you will get my eternal gratitude. Okay, so I'm going to start with a tiny story. This morning, I was a complete and total muppet. I don't know how I managed it, but I recorded the video that goes with day 10 of Inktober Tangles 2022. And I've added it to my drawing or my sampler, my mosaic, or whatever you want to call it that's going on. Edited the video, started to upload it and thought, hang on, let me check this. Or about to upload it, checked it and realised that I'd reprocessed yesterday's video. Okay, not a problem, I thought, I'll go and sort this out, it won't take me long. Only to discover that the video I had recorded had disappeared. I'd somehow convinced I must have deleted it completely by accident when I was having a bit of a clear out, because I do that regularly. I clear my hard drive out as much as I can. So the video I recorded earlier today has vanished into the nether regions of the recycling bin, to whatever weird dimension it has gone to, never to be discovered again. So here I am in the afternoon, it's sunny out. I can't go out because it's too sunny, even with sunblock on. I'm suffering from the effects of going out in the sun Sunday, and I had sunblock on. My skin has reacted to it. Great. So I'm stuck indoors, but it's still sunny out. And I thought, okay then, before I do anything else, let's get this Tangle pattern done. The Tangle pattern for today is Finery, and it is by Zentangle ink themselves. And for some reason, this Tangle pattern, every time I try to do it, it totally vexes and flummoxes me. This morning was no different, which is why I was so keen that you should get the video, but obviously not. The gods that be decided not to. But I thought, right, let's give it another go. Me being a glutton for punishment. And it's a pattern I actually like, which is even stranger that I can't draw it. But I think we all have those patterns. Sorry, the beep was the autofocus. That was what the bop was. I forgot to autofocus before I started. We all have patterns that we struggle with, and sometimes it's just a matter of time and perhaps doing a similar pattern where the pen, things just click into place. That's happened to me with Tangle and with some other Tangle patterns where the deconstructions just did not make sense. I could not make head or tail of them. And so here we go. But before I start with the Finery, I want something to launch it off. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to, you see, I like Suma. I think we'll do a Suma or two at the, at the bottom here. Suma was the pattern for yesterday, wasn't it? And it's rather lovely. So I'm creating almost like, it's a backward S shape, but down and around. And I like to give it a little spiral in. Almost like we've got a shell there or something going on. The next step of this is I've got one side of the edge here and I need to create the other side, which I'm going to do here. And then I'm going to kick that into an arch or an arc like that. And then in the middle, just bring that down, I'm going to create a partial leaf shape. I'll add some ink in places where things meet, and also I'm going to add some ink where we'd have some shadow, because these may be quite dimensional. Well, I think they are. I always think they're quite sculpted. I said in yesterday's video, it reminds me very much of motifs you find on medieval manuscripts. So I'm just going to start with the one. We'll see how it goes. It just gives me somewhere to start this blessed pattern from. Okay. Right, so the next step I am going to do is I'm going to start with the basic structural part of the finery, and it's like the centre of a feather almost, or a leaf, where you've got a vein there, and I am going to put a little kind of paisley shape, or bent teardrop shape here at the end. And I need a series of these, and therein lies the tale. Not really, but it's could be the cause of my problems. So I'm just going to draw the paisley shape on this one, and then here I'm going to add the other side and get that just to join, not join there. Okay, we'll have that kind of shape going on that one. No such thing as a mistake in Zentangle. And what Adam Savage says, it's hiding the crimes. Crimes being it's an oops, or something that didn't go quite right, and you find a way of hiding it or making it part of what you have created. And that's the whole idea with Zentangle. No mistakes, just creative opportunities. I used to say that to the students, the pupils I used to teach art to. There's no such thing as a mistake, it's just a creative opportunity. Was it Bob Ross who said happy little accidents as well? Because you work with them. If you don't point it out to somebody, they wouldn't know. I'm getting some interesting ends on these, so we'll do something with those later on. I do want some more, though. I think I want some that go more or less, well, they're going up to the top of my border here. We'll add another one. Looks like I've got a strange creature growing here. That's fine. I don't mind strange creatures. In my world, they can grow. And then I think I will do just one more. And I think this one I'll have going perhaps in a slightly different arc. Like so. And then we'll have perhaps two of them, so they make a kind of heart shape. So I've got a mixture of 3s and 2s. Now then, this is where it all goes wrong. It does. Because I want to create vertical lines here that are a bit like shapes you would find on a leaf or feather, and they kind of bend. So what I'm going to do here, and I will do my best, perhaps if I zoom in, I'm beginning to wonder whether I should put another, actually I think I might. Before I start that, let me just zoom back out again. I'm just going to pop another one of these in here, just to split this space up a bit. There we go. That feels a bit better. It does need something a little bit different there. Look at that, it sprouted a little heart. Okay, let's see if that will help. So zoom back in. Okay, so I've got choices to make. I can either have this as the, I think I'm going to do, yeah, I think I will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace down this one and then bend it this way. So it's not a straight line, but it is kind of an S shape. Do you know what? I think I might actually get this one more or less as it should be. Not that that's a problem. If pennies have clicked into place for me here, it's a big hurrah. I'm just going back and adding just little bits of ink in these corners where the lines meet. Okay, so what I need to do now is replicate this on this side. Do you know what? I've got it. I've got no idea what went wrong this morning, but I've actually got it. There's a shame because I wanted to show you how to work with mistakes. I'll show you that it's, you know, there's no such thing as a mistake, but it's fine. So what I am doing here is I'm roughly starting opposite or across from this little line here and here. See, I went wonky there with that line, so there's already one that's not quite as it needs to be, but it'll be fine. So if I zoom out, you can see that now I've got space on here, but I have a plan for that, maybe. I'm not going to add any more sections to it that way, but I'm wondering if I could actually, I think I could connect them like this and perhaps have some that go this way, almost like they're underneath. That actually is quite nice. Ooh, that gives me plenty of options now, what to do next. And we'll add just that little bit of weighting there. Oh, I like that. Okay, so now, starting with this line, it's going to be that same kind of shape here. It's that kind of S shape, as if we're drawing it from the bottom of the S. And again, I'm going to have them pairing up with these. I think we'd have one there, possibly. And let's go and add some of this weighting. Doesn't take long. But it just makes a little bit of difference. It's automatically starting to add shadows and so on. So this one is going to be up and to there. So we're going down and up on this side, whereas the other side was, or up the other side. Yeah, I think you might be able to see what I'm doing. I'm confusing myself here. It depends which way round I've turned the paper, doesn't it? The last one will be hidden there, behind the Suma. So I'm just going to add this in while I'm at it. breaks up the process, which I sometimes like to do. And then this one is going to go down, or they're going to be connected this way. There we go. I've done it. Can't believe that. After all the kerfuffle this morning, and I just didn't get it. Suddenly, without the pressure on me, or me putting myself in pressure, I suppose, things have just clicked into place, haven't they? Do you know, I think I might if I put another one here, I may be able to get another one of this kind of shape in, couldn't I? Let's have a look. How are we going to do that? So there we've got that one. Okay, so perhaps not. We'll see now if I can manage that. Because it does look strange when you've just got that one thing that's different elsewhere. Whereas if I make repeat it somewhere, it feels like it's not just a one-off thing, that it was a kind of deliberate move on my part. I will check all of the other sections to see if I can fit one in there. But this one was from the top up to this and then down like that. Yep, we can definitely get a one in there. As I miss there, it'll be fine. And then can I get one here? I think I might be able to just sneak one in a bit like that. And that just connects the tops then. Not as grandiosely as this one. This one's a bit, fancy schmancy. So this here is my finery, but there's going to be more. Okay, right, first things first, let's get my Inktense pencils. Ooh, and a paintbrush, which you shall not see. I'm going to go hunting for, oh, that'll do, Thistle, pulled a colour out. Now, if I look at these ones have the feeling of being, well, actually, this one feels like it's pointing up because that's behind it. So I think we'll have the darker sections not quite where you'd expect them. So here is where there's going to be shadow, and on this one as well, which is going to be very confusing. So let me have a look. We'll have shadow on this side as well. And then not there, but on this side we'll have some shadow. I'm going to put shadow right the way around this Suma as well. Suma is something else. I think it's a brand of cosmetics that are cruelty-free, I think. I think that's why I've come across that name before. Right then, so I've got these here. Now this is going to be an interesting thing. I'm also going to put some shadow here and here and along these here as well. Now the thing about this is that if I haven't added enough now, I can always go back and add some more colour. That's the lovely thing about this. And I'm just going to add some in the base like this, because I want that to feel that it is behind everything else. Already that's beginning to add some dimension, isn't it? Right, let me get my water brush just working, hopefully not too much. Let's have a look. So with this, I'm running it along the edge and then just pulling the colour out just to add some of the colour into the space here. You can do this section by section or a couple of sections at a time. It's not critical how you do it. But I am conscious that I coloured this paper just before I started filming with Distress ink. And it can affect the drying time of pens. This is mixed media paper, so it does take a bit longer to settle in, which I'm fine about. So there's one side. But if I do all of them on I did 3 smaller ones together, but I think the larger ones I'm just going to take one at a time. You can see I'm just taking colour from the edge and spreading it down. I most probably do need a bit more colour there and here. Because I'm choosing a colour that is quite sympathetic or works harmoniously with the colours that I used. The colours that I used to add colour to this: Seedless Preserves, dusty Concord, some saltwater taffy and spiced marmalade, I think it was. So that if you've got distress inks, use them. And I use a bit of what's called cut and dry foam. It's got like a very thick layer of what would be kind of fun foam on one side. On the other, it's just ordinary spongy foam. But the black side, I find, is brilliant for spreading distress inks out. It works for me far better than, well, I don't like the blending tools, the round, ink blending tools. Makeup brushes are brilliant if you want a very soft coloured background. But I wanted something that's quite vibrant here. It's certainly a change from the grey-green I'm working on for my Tangle patterns for Inktober. So a bit of a brighter colour. And say they work well together, so even though the distress inks will reactivate with water and will mix with this, they look like they're really intense, but there's not very much ink on the surface. So they will mix nicely with this colour because I've chosen one that will go nicely with them. But they don't make a lot of difference in the grand scheme of things. So, they're not going to muddy the colour up in any particular way, which is fab. I do have the Distress watercolour pencils here somewhere, but I much prefer the Inktense, mainly because once they dry, they dry. And I think that would, well, no, it wouldn't make the Inktense there, the Distress ink they're mixed with permanent, I don't think. But these certainly will be. Which means that if I do need to come back and add some more colour, I can do. I really am liking what I can see here with the colours and how they're working together. I don't know what you think, but I'm finding it a very happy colour combination today. There's something rather nice about this. I don't know what it is. Seashell-y almost in some ways. I don't know if seashell-y is a word, but it is now. I do like that. Just so simple, adding that, just that bit of colour, keeping it dark for the shadows, and then just bringing it outwards just to mix in these spaces and create that gradient. I've got a bit more water for my brush. That'll be great now. So I'm keeping it dark where I want the shadows. May come back and add a bit more on either side of that central quill or vein. Is it quill or pen? I'm not really sure what they call the vein in the middle of a feather, because this does remind me of feathers. How does that look? What do you think? I think it's quite washed out in the video. Let me try turning the light off. Oh, that's better. You sort of get a better idea of what the colour is. It's really, I really like that. And I like these back layers. And I'm glad that I've put the darkness, because instinctively I'd want to put the darkness here, but I didn't. I chose to do it in a different way. So it really does look like we've got little pockets there. I'm happy with that. The one thing I do want to do is I want to add some colour to these as well. To my little leaflets or hearts, budding hearts or hearts not budding, I don't know. Well, you know, it happened. From a happy little accident, a creative opportunity, a misstroke of the pen. But I wouldn't have thought of doing ones like this necessarily if I hadn't done that. So I may have done, but I hadn't had it in my mind, so it brought it into my mind. So it was a happy accident. Now, whether I remember how to do this the next time I want to do the Tangle pattern finery is a different matter. But I've managed to actually create it today. I can be incredibly dense about things. Or, I say dense, it's if something isn't done in a way that makes sense to my brain. And we're all the same. You know, how many times have you seen, if you watch like Zentangle videos or drawing videos and you think, I really don't understand that. Or you've looked at a deconstruction and you've gone, I don't get that. That does not make sense to me. And then suddenly somebody comes along and shows you it in a different way and you go, oh, is that what it is? And the pennies drop. And it doesn't mean that the people are wrong. It just means that we all look at things in a different kind of way. And that's fine. That's humanity. That is who we are. We are all different, and there is no harm, no shame in that at all. In fact, we should celebrate our differences as much as anything. But that's what makes humanity so interesting. And as long as the differences cause no harm to others, then I'm, you know, I may not agree with everybody, might not like what everything everybody says, but as long as it causes no harm or leads to no harm or upset, then that's okay, I guess. But there we go. So I'm just going to add some extra colour on this Suma that the finery is growing out of, because it needs some in the same way the finery did, just to intensify some colours here. and to bring out perhaps some shadows where there were none. I picked up some ink there, black ink, from the pens, because as I said, they're not drying particularly well here, but it'll be fine because it will disappear into the background, and no doubt I'll add some pattern to this at some point. So there we go. That's my drawing so far, but I have not finished. Oh, no. Oh, that colour that I used, if you want to know, is called Sienna Gold. It's my favouriteest yellow colour ever. I absolutely love it. It's a lovely golden yellow. It's not acidy yellow and the cool yellow. It's not too orange. It's not too bright like sunshine. It is just beautiful. Now, I drew all of this design with an O1, but what I want to do is I'm going to come back with an O3, because this morning, when I made my mistakes, I thought, right, okay, what can I do? And I thought they look like grids, don't they? And you've got a reticular, and each of these spaces is somewhere where I could put a tangle pattern. So I'm going to start with this one here, and I may do the same pattern on this side or not, or on the other side, because it could be up and over. And I'm going to start with some little black beads that I'm putting roughly in the centre of each of these sections, which are square, essentially. They're bizarre squares, but they're squarish. They've got 4 points. So as far as I'm concerned, that's squarish today. I'm going to do one of my favourite patterns, which is well, but I'm going to do a variation of it. So let me zoom in. Well, I say variation of it. Let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. So well is about drawing from the centre, and you sort of like, almost like fly off. I think Zentangle referred to it as take off and land. So here I'm going in a clockwise direction with all of these. So up to the corners. So that's the basic well. It's a very small one. So this one I went clockwise. So the first stroke I started off by going to the right. Here I'm going to go in the opposite direction and go to the left. I'm going anti-clockwise. Now once I've got the first stroke set up, it's easy enough for me to work out the rest because they just all radiate out in the same way. So I'm going anti-clockwise. So down to here, and down to there. Or round to there, I should say. So they're mirror images, and you can see that here I'm getting this lovely shape that I love so much. So this way I was working anti-clockwise. So this way I want to go clockwise. So I want to go in the opposite direction. 2 ways of doing that. You can either work it out sort of like, oh, yeah, well, I went clockwise that way. I made like a number 9 there, and I made like a letter P there. Or you can look at this and think, right, okay, I need to mirror this. So this goes from here down and round, and here down and round. And that's how I do it, rather than trying to figure it all out. So I'm just mirroring these pen strokes, and then the rest just fall as they need to. So this one goes around, this one goes that way, and then back. This one will go around there, this one will go up and down. It's going to have to bend to get in that corner though. I'm fine with that, because that one will end up the same kind of thing, as will that one. Because the shape of the space is so distorted, that is exactly what is needed. Okay, now I'm going to get my O1, and I'm going to do some patterns on these. And the ones I want to put pattern in, or lines in, are the ones that are along the edges. So the half of these shapes, if you like. And I'm just going around. So if you see this one, I'm just going to aura around in this way along the long line towards that, one of the corners. I've just done that one wrong. Not a problem. Did I do it right? I did it right. Yeah, I was doing it right. See? Confused myself, so I'm just going to go back and I'm just going to cross hatch them all now, because that will make... I bet you were all screaming at me, Angela, you've got it right. And I convinced myself I'd done it wrong. It's easy to do, isn't it? So we'll go that way and then I'll just come back along this. And then they will... Right, yeah, it's this one. This is the awkward one because it's a different shape to the others. But and that just adds that ink to send things backwards. Okay, let me just check. Yeah, I've done them all there. So here's my lovely shapes here. So I am going to go around here, around there, around there, around there, around there. Ooh. Around there, because the other side I've done, haven't I? So I'm going to leave these ones like that as a contrast or as a change, I think. Shall I? Yeah, I think I will actually. Find that. No. Yes, I wish I'd done that on the bottom and noticed how lovely it was, but shall I leave as is? Now part of me wants to go and colour these in black. What a nightmare. Okay, we'll leave, I'll do the other side exactly the same then. Yeah, it is that one I want to do. It's going to be interesting because I'm working, that's what's confusing me, is the fact I'm going in different directions here each time I do them. But we'll get there. Yeah, that, as much as I love that single line, it feels so much better when I cross hatch in the same way. So that was lovely, and then we'll go down like this towards that corner, like so. I'm going to give time for that ink to dry, and I probably will come and add some shadowing to that. Okay, so that's one section. Now, do I want to do this section or that one with the same pattern? Actually, I don't. Just to confuse everybody. Okay, so this one here, what I'm going to do here is with my 03, I'm going to aura these to give a border between the sections, like so. Just a bit of a border, and I'm just weighting those lines as well so they're consistent with the ones that were already there. Okay, what I'm going to do with this one, I think I'm going to do betweed. I'm trying to work out which way I want the top bit to be. That way, because that's where... no, I'll do it the other way because I want one where there's going to be lots of lines coming together. So betweed is a really interesting pattern where we're creating a kind of woven pattern. So what I'm doing is I'm drawing along this line and then curving this, in a different way towards, so I'm going along the left line and then curving towards the right. So I'm doing the same all the way down. And as we overlap, this pattern, this woven pattern in the middle, will just gradually creep down this space and eventually fill it in. I'll zoom in a bit more and do the next section. Try and keep my paper in one place, hands staying there. You can see some of my shoddy pen work. So I'm going to trace along this line. When I get towards the top, I'm just going to bend away a little. I'm going to do the same this side. Then I'm going to go back to the first side, but I'm going to start bending it out a little bit before the other one, if that makes sense. And I'm just going to keep going back and forth like this, creating this woven pattern here, roughly in the middle of this space. It's not going to be exactly in the middle, but that's fine. Like so. So I'll do the next one. I'm just adjusting my paper slightly just to make sure that I have it where it's most comfortable, because it's at a slightly different angle. Now you can twist and turn your paper for each of these if you like, but I think it's a good idea to practice doing this. It doesn't take much time to practice, to do it again and again, but it saves you time and it saves you a lot of fuss when it comes to turning paper around and so on. And like me, I get confused even when I don't turn the paper around. On days like today, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm really befuddled. Might be that I didn't have enough sleep last night. Oh, that one was a bit wider, but it's fine. It's a happy one. It's exuberant. There we go. Nearly done. This really is one of my favourite ones to do. I do not know what it is about this as a filler pattern, but it just makes me so happy to do it. This was one that took me a long time to figure out as well, oddly. I just couldn't get it. And then I saw a video of it and I thought, oh, I can do that. And I did. So there we are. So there's betweed. Do you know what? I think I may do that in this section. No, I'm not going to do it in this section because I just don't have the space in here really. Not unless I was to do half and half, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, one more. And this was interesting and fun. I'll do them on these sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, again, a kind of channel where I'm going to pop everything in. A border. This one, I think, let's see if we can get a teeny tiny one in there, just to be consistent. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a very shallow, sort of like leaf shape or crescent moon, if you prefer me to say that, like so. Okay, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to add that dark circle in the middle. But I'm going to try and get it to match up on each side so it looks like something is tucked under these little bars that I've created. We've imprisoned some black orbs, as it were. Which is probably the wrong thing to say, but you know what I mean. There we go. So now the next thing I want to do here is I'm going to start to draw auras around them. I'm going to do them in pairs in each box. I'm just going to go back and forth from one side to the other until they meet, like here. And then I'll get my slightly thicker pen and just fill this in. I've done a very good job of it. It'll be fine. I'm going to do the same on this side. Sorry, I just realised that I'm still very zoomed in, so you might not have seen me do all of this section, but I'm sure you'll get the idea. I'm zoomed in too much. So let's see if we can get these. I think so. That one's a bit of a messy one, but then it's such a difficult space. Such a weird space there. Okay, just check you can see. You can. See here, there might only be a couple of auras to add in before I've got a space where the lines I've added have touched, the auras have touched, and they create these little triangle shapes top and bottom. I do like this, it's very graphic and very lovely. So I'm starting to add, have a look, zoom out, a lot more interest to this. These ones at the back are going to be interesting because they are in the background and I want patterns that will be quite small and dense. And for these, I think I'll pop those on the other side. So here on this one, I'm just going to pop in some tipple in these first little spaces. I'll do that on all of them just to be consistent. But I think having that aura gives that darkness, that aura, the tipple in, it just gives that plenty of ink and that darkness that we want to help to accentuate that idea that this is in shadow, so it must be behind. I think that works quite nicely actually. And I'm going to do something similar on the other side, but I'm going to make the tipples perhaps just that tiny bit bigger and fade to tiny little ones in that corner. So it's an alternative approach, so like so. It's very subtle, but it's there. Because after all, we are working with tiny nibbed pens in tiny spaces, so there's a limit to the size you can squish in. And I'll do the same here with some nice big ones. And with these, perhaps they get smaller and smaller down to the point there. So that already now has added some extra ink. So what can I do with these other sections? Well, first job, let's add an aura in. I'll do that to them all, regardless of what I'm going to do within them. Because again, it's that consistency. It's making sure that if you're consistent across in certain aspects of your drawing, then it looks deliberate, doesn't it? So those look all the same and all very deliberate. And I will pop an aura on the top of these tippled sections as well. I should have popped one in to begin with, but it's fine. Doesn't matter which way we do it. The Zentangle police are not going to come and tell you off. Well, I hope not. Okay. So, here I'm going to pop in some rounded arches. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same here. I've got all these tiny, tiny little spaces at the top. So if I zoom in, you'll see what I mean. All these tiny, tiny little spaces at the top of these little arches. So apologise for not zooming in sooner. My mind is working on what do I do next? And sort of like housekeeping tasks just are going out the window. So, as in, make sure everything's on camera. Make sure you've zoomed in. Just putting some black dots at the top of those. It just adds that little bit of emphasis there, that little bit of darkness again. Now, I could put those on these edges, but I think I might keep this similar across. So what I'm going to do here, instead of having these going up and filling the space, I think I'm going to add these rounded archy things here, kind of a bit like bunting, I suppose, hanging off the top. This is going to fill this space though, because this is just a tiny, tiny little space. Although I could do tiny, tiny little half circles, I think I'll be getting to the point of ridiculousness with them. So that'll do nicely. So I've got these, and what I'm going to do now, sorry, I must probably miss some of those out. I hate being zoomed in. There. I'm not zoomed out all the way, but hopefully you'll get to see. So I'm just going to put some little black half circles, half orbs, semicircles, ladybugs. In the UK we call them ladybirds. The word for them in Welsh and the translation is really interesting. Or, you know, I say word, it's words, but for the life of me I can't remember what it is now. If I remember, I'll look it up and pop it in the description in case you're interested now I've mentioned it. I just thought, oh, that's interesting. We've got some lovely names for animals in Welsh. One of my favourites is Pilipala, which is butterfly. I don't know what it literally translates to. I've never looked at it, but I just think it's so lovely. Pilipala, butterfly. There, so we've got a consistency there. I put lines in between them because it looks a bit more like they might be quite structured in that kind of way. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out so I can have a good look at the overall design. No, wrong way, Angela. Let's go out, not in. Okay, so how is this looking? Do I like I do like the empty panels. I do like the empty panels. I think it gives a nice kind of contrast. So I'm not doing any more in the way of shading, but what I do have here, what's that? I don't know, something on my desk, I don't know what that is. I've got a white gel pen. I've got a white gel pen. And somewhere here, there we go, I did see earlier, I've got a scrap piece of paper. And I'm going to use that scrap piece of paper just to clean my pen off. And just to get it working. Okay, so here I'm going to add a white line highlight, but off that white line I'm going to draw some quite fine white lines going this way. I don't know, is it picking it up? I don't know. Let me zoom in. Okay, I may not pick up. Not sure that will help. Turn the light off again. Okay, so what I'm doing, it might pick up on this one, is I'm putting a white line here and then I'm drawing lines flicking down to the bottom. I didn't do it on this one. So it's almost like this is where I want my brightest highlight to be, and then the rest of them will just fall away, as they will. So I don't know if that is visible, but I'm going to do this on all of these. And I can do this quite quickly. Perhaps an 05 wasn't the best choice to do this with. But even if you can't see these, you can see where my pen is moving. Now, you could do this with white charcoal, white pastel, white chalk. You put the line there and blend it down that way, because this is where I want it to be. The lightest is there. Again here, and then just feather down. And here there'll be some, perhaps not so much at the bottom. Oh, now you can see that one. And so I'll just do this one. I've got one of my hairs somewhere. Okay, let's have a look. Down here. So that adds some whiteness, some lightness to it. With these, I'm going to add some white lines at the top and down. I'm going to do it even here because they would be very plumptuous and in my mind. And so I'm going to add some little white lines there. I'm doing these before I go and do anything else, just to give a chance for the gel pen to dry. She says putting a finger right on the top of it. Let me just zoom out again. That's better. So you can see what I'm doing. Just putting like a horseshoe shape at the top. And just letting that be my highlight, just a single white line. Okay, for this one down here, the Suma, I'm going to put some white lines on these sections that will be the lightest. Again, once they dry, I can always come back and add more, but with gel pen you need to be careful, because if you go back with it, you can remove what you've put down and make a bit of a mess. I know this from experience, and so I want this highlight to go all the way around, really, like so. We could have just a few more bits of highlight here. There, that'll do nicely. So that's brought that into great whiteness. Okay, these, I'm going to fill these little semicircles with a row of dots. Now in my Inktober pattern page, as it were, my sampler, my tapestry of pattern, these sections are actually very similar to some that I have in Souk. And gone quiet for a moment. So I've, in another section, I haven't done it on here, but in another section on that one, I actually used I See You, which was the pattern for day was it day 3? I think so. I don't know. But I actually use those, so it's starting to tie colours and patterns together. So that's quite nice. This one, I'm going to add white highlights in terms of lines curling around, but can you see I'm not going right to the end, I'm stopping short as if there's a highlight just here, as if this begins to bend over and the bright highlight will just stop. Just turn around so you can see what I'm doing, hopefully. So again, I'm just going to bend around the whole of this, but hopefully you can see that I'm stopping short of this curved end. I'm using where the points come together to start adding this. So I'm sort of treating this almost like a complete shape, and I could actually go over the black line with white to bring that out. So that actually works quite nicely. The other thing I'm going to do, I think, I could, no, I'll be here forever. Okay, with the betweed, I've got these borders between them. So I am going to bring some white highlights in here. Trying to remember to use a very light hand with the gel pen. And I may add just a couple of dots at the end, just to let that light just catch at the bottom of those borders. And then with betweed, normally you'd put shadow in the bottom, but I'm just very quickly going to add the sparkle, because here, as I'm looking at it this way, it looks like it's bulging out rather than settling in. So I'm going to make use of that and just dot on some little dots of white. It doesn't have to be perfect, you don't have to catch everyone. It's just that impression that this is lighter, therefore it will be higher up than everything else. Generally, it depends where your light source is. So we've got some there. I'm also going to put some white on these outer bands and with some dots at the end. So I don't want to fill all of it with white, but I do want to add some white just to catch the lights on these, I suppose. I'm going to have to go back with a black pen afterwards, but that's okay, I can live with that. And then I think I'll leave the rest exactly as they are. Let me zoom right out so you can see all of it. Unfortunately, I don't know whether you're going to be able to see the white. It's probably not, because it's not the best lighting today. Whatever I use, it's not going to show up, but it's there. It's very subtle. I will scan this in. The other thing I want to do with this... Oh, I forgot about the quills, didn't I? So I'm going to add a white line right up the centre of these. Just turn this around just to make it a bit easier for me. You could colour these in. I'm leaving them with the background colour and adding this white. The white will act as that highlight, which hopefully will show up in my scan. It does to my eyes, just not to the camera, unfortunately. But there, okay. The one thing I would like to do, but I'm not going to, or somebody's going to suggest that it might have been a good idea if I put some shadow around it to lift it up. That's always possible, but I'm not entirely sure what I'd do that with. I think I'd use a purple. Let me have a look. Where's my dusky purple? Oh, look at that. Do you know what? My materials are cooperating with me today. Do you know that? Well, for this video they are. Because normally I can't find the colour I want for love or money. But today they're being rather charming. So I'm putting some Inktense around these here. I'm looking at where some of them would be sort of like to the left and bottom is what I tend to go for with shadows. If I don't know what to do, left and bottom. I might pop some on around here as well. Yeah, this would be, there's my left and bottom. My left, and we'll add some there. Definitely want plenty around this one. Okay, and very quickly, let me have a look if I got that. Yeah, I have. I've got that one. I've got that there. Right, water brush time. I think the dusky purple will work quite nicely, so I don't want to have this fade, you know, blended out a long way, but I do need some blending out of it. Otherwise it's just going to be a very dense line there, which may be what it ends up being. This is not my best skill. I don't like doing big areas of colour, ever. Which is probably why most of my art is quite intricate and lots of detail. Play to your strengths. That was the advice that Mad-Eye Moody, well, the fake Mad-Eye Moody in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, gave to Harry Potter concerning the first task in the Triwizard tournament. He said to him, you know, you need to play to your strengths. And that's when Harry, you know, said, well, I'm a pretty good flyer. And Mad-Eye Moody said, more than pretty good, I've heard. And that's where he and Hermione hatch up a plan for them to get his broom to him so he can survive the test with the dragons. Yes, I know. Yeah, but it's relevant. Play to your strengths. You might not have a broomstick you can fly on, though Halloween is coming up. But you play to your strengths and to what you like. How you think things should look. Doesn't matter what other people think necessarily. Ultimately, what you do, you should enjoy, whether it's art or anything else in life. Sometimes you have to do things that perhaps you choose not to do or required of you for whatever reason, but when it's something that you do for your own pleasure, that's exactly what it should be, your own pleasure. There we go. Does that help? Has that lifted it off a bit? Just a bit. So it actually needs more, but it's not going to get it from me. I might have a look and see if I've got a chalk pastel that might work. So there we have it. We have Finery, Suma, and plenty of other patterns. I don't know if this one's got one. It's a bit like Bales, or I don't know what it is. This is well, Betweed. We've got sort of crescent moon things happening here. I've got Tipple, and I've got archy things. I don't know what they're called, archy things. But we've got hearts and little leaves and things. So I just hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it useful. It's a heck of a long video, sorry. I only wanted to do a short one. Obviously, I'm going to have to accept the short videos may not be my thing. But I hope you have fun. I hope you give this a go. And I hope if you struggle with finery like me, it might help you, because I've suddenly cracked it. Not sure I can explain it, but you can see what I'm doing. So thank you so much. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you again soon. Don't forget though, find time to be creative. Ta-ra for now. Bye. Hwyl.